Okay, we'll go ahead and call the first meeting of 2025 to, and if you're able, please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pape.
Here.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Here.
Councilmember Kozmeyer. Councilmember Hands.
Here.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Here.
Councilmember Leahy.
Here.
Councilmember Ryder.
Here.
Councilmember Silvers.
Here.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item up this evening is public items. Members of the public are encouraged to use this time to make comments about matters that do not appear on the agenda. Comments about items on the regular agenda would be taken up as each item is considered. Please note, individuals making public comments are limited to 5 minutes. We did have a blue sheet that was outside for sign up. Nobody has signed that, but that does not preclude you from coming forward at this time if anybody has a public comment they'd like to make. Don't rush to the podium all at once. Okay. Well, I guess we will close out public items then. Next item up this evening is consent agenda. All items listed under this heading are considered to be routine by the City Council and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. We do have 3 items this evening. Is there anyone who wants anything removed from the consent agenda? Okay, I see nobody wanting anything removed. I would entertain a motion then. Go ahead, Mr. Silvers.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to consider approval of the minutes of the City Council meeting held December 9th, 2024.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Yodridge.
Mr. Mayor, second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
The motion should be consent agenda items 1 through 3.
Oh, excuse me. Consent agenda items 1 through 3. Can we make that correction?
Thank you, I apologize. It's been about a month since we've done this.
That's right.
I'd like to move that the council approve consent agenda items number 1 through 3.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we still have a second?
Second.
And we still have a second.
I
Ms.
still
Yodridge.
second.
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item up on the agenda is the mayor's report. First item on that list is the Employee Service Awards for the 4th quarter. And I assume we have Ms. Gard that's going to handle that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize our employees for the 4th quarter of 2024. We'll be recognizing 4 this evening. The first, if we could please have Stephanie Thompson come forward for her 5 years of dedicated service with the Administration Department for the City of Merriam. Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie's our HR manager. Next, we have Lauren Gravosha for her 10 years of dedicated service to the Administration Department for the City of Merriam. Lauren is our assistant to the City Administrator. Next, if we could have Rashad Castaneda come forward for his 10 years of dedicated service to the Police Department. Rashad is a sergeant in our police department. And last but very not least, if we could please have Ross Davis come forward for his 25 years of dedicated service to the Public Works Department. Ross is our fleet superintendent. Group picture. Congratulations to our Team Merriam 2024 Fourth Quarter Service Awards.
Yeah, our employees is what makes the city, and we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Okay, well, next item up is new employees. and
It
the
is.
Introductions.
I think this is our second or third time doing this. We want to introduce some of our new, all of our new employees to the governing body, and we'll do that in conjunction when we do our service award each quarter. So we want to introduce our fourth quarter new employees. Both are in our Public Works Department. They're both here. Just Kyle. Okay, we have two. Ryan Fry couldn't make it with us tonight. He's one of our Public Works maintenance workers, but we do have Kyle Reuter. If you would please come forward, and if you want to say a couple words to the city council.
No pressure.
Well, no pressure. Well, thank you for bringing me on, and it's a pleasure to work with you guys, and look forward to being here for quite some time. So I'm sure we'll talk again.
And thank you for your service this past weekend. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. Well, this is the next one is an exciting one, and that's confirm the appointment of Tyson Boyer to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for the term expiring December 31st, 2026. As in our packets, everybody got a chance to read about Tyson, I assume. And I've invited Tyson to come forward and say a couple words to the council, just so you all get a chance to know him. Please come forward. And for the record, would you give us your name and address? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tyson Boyer. I live at 6300 Mackey Street, Merriam, Kansas, 66202. I'm a resident of Merriam for going on 14 years now. I'm really excited to be active in the community, and I appreciate this time for tonight.
Thank you, Tyson. Okay, well, we appreciate you coming forward and volunteering to do this. This is great. All right.
If you'd like to
Yes,
take
I
one.
would take a motion.
Would you like
Please,
one?
Ms. Hands, please do that.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I move that the council confirm the appointment of Tyson Boyer to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for the term expiring December 31st, 2026.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Go ahead, Ms. Shavetta.
I second that.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion second.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, welcome aboard, Tyson. Thank you. All right. It's official. We're going to have him for several more years, too. That's the exciting part. Okay, the last thing is I'd like to talk a little bit about what I and other council members have been doing over the last several weeks. I attended the Parade of Hearts meeting where we discussed activities that will be occurring around the metro area during the 2026 FIFA World Cup soccer tournaments. Discussion of how we can work together to augment each other's community activities with the event was interesting, and I'm sure we'll be getting more in the future, and we'll get several of you I know want to be involved. So I will reach out when they reach out to me. So thank you. I attended the Johnson County, Wyandotte County Mayor's Holiday Festivities. It's always good to get to know and interact with other mayors in an informal event. Mr. Engel and I attended the library board's meeting where they voted to sell the library property to us. Cooperative agreements where we can all come together for the betterment of our constituents is always welcomed. That goes before the county commissioners this month. I and numerous city employees got the opportunity to volunteer at the Johnson County Christmas Bureau holiday event. This wonderful group serves the region each year by providing food, clothing, toys, and a host of other gifts free of charge to a large part of our community. This organization functions year-round and is located right here in Merriam, for those of you that didn't know that. I attended the Merriam PD Christmas Luncheon where we got to see many of the retired police officers. It's good to see they're still alive. And a great event to bring current and past officers together. Thank you, Chief, for allowing us to meet with those people, and we look forward to that every year. I and fellow council members attended the Delaney Group home tour and ribbon cutting. It was provided by the Northeast Chamber of Commerce. We welcome them to our community. I and numerous staff of the city and county met with Colonel Woner, well, I'm going to mess that up, with the Corps of Engineers. I hope he's not listening or watching this on later. But he is in charge now of the Corps of Engineers group that is going to be taking care of the Turkey Creek mitigation over there. And we appreciate the opportunity that he came to actually look at the creek, talk to us, and find out what our desires were, what the circumstances involving the flooding of the creek actually are. And he doesn't live in Merriam, but he lives very close in Shawnee, so it's good to have him local. I and numerous city and county met with, I attended the Northeast Johnson County Mayor's Luncheon. I found that being mayor is very, very nice because it has a lot of perks, like you can eat at a lot of different places. It's one of the great things, but anyway. I did bell ringing for Salvation Army as a part of my service to the Johnson County Kiwanis group. I was overwhelmed by the generosity. I don't know if everybody drops money into those bells, but all those people are volunteers that go out there and serve those, at that time. Sometimes it's very cold out there. But I saw $10s and $20 bills being put in there. I started feeling kind of cheap because I usually only put a couple bucks in. But anyway, the generosity of our community is overwhelming. I attended the Johnson County, you'll like this one. I attended the Johnson County Criminal Advisory Committee meeting via Zoom while I was in Florida. Yeah. Due to the major snowstorm, it was held remotely via Zoom, so I was pleasantly surprised that I got to attend that. And of course, I also told them where I was, and it was 70 degrees while you guys were under a snowstorm up here. But it's good to have input on a county level with what's going on criminally in our county. Several council members attended the police department open house. It's always good to see our police officers interacting with the community on a positive note. Thank you, Chief, and your officers for putting that on. It's nice to do that on a positive note and not just pulling people over and giving them tickets. And the very last thing I have, and I'm going to need some participation from the audience on this one, but it turns out that this very night is one of our council member, Jacob Leahy's birthday. And so I would like for us to sing happy birthday to Jacob. And we'll call him Mr. Leahy, okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Leahy. Happy birthday to you. All right, let's give him an applause. Okay. We won't ask you how old, because we don't do that. Yeah. All right, well, that concludes my mayor's report. Other things is the Planning Commission, I think, is coming up next. Consider approval of an ordinance amending Merriam Code Section 74-4222. We have Director Dyer to the podium.
Okay, Mayor, council members, Brian Dyer, Community Development Director. This evening you have before you an ordinance that regards to accessory dwelling units. This is something that stems from your conversation that you all had back in September 23rd of last year, where staff presented you information in regards to accessory dwelling units and allowing them within our single-family zoning districts. At that meeting, you all took in some information, made some recommendations and some suggestions, and then directed or requested your planning commission draft an ordinance that would amend our code to allow for ADUs. On November 6th, the planning commission heard staff's presentation, had quite a bit of discussion and comment about ADUs, and then directed staff to draft a ordinance, which the Planning Commission then had a public hearing on December 4th. The draft ordinance that you have before you this evening is the draft ordinance that they considered. Again, they reviewed and discussed the ordinance and had a public hearing. They had one comment from public comment. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance. And again, as mentioned, the purpose of it is to allow ADUs in our single-family zoning districts. What is an accessory dwelling unit? Again, we covered most of this already, but accessory dwelling unit is a unit that is secondary to the principal unit of single-family home and located on the same lot as a single-family home. Up on the screen, some good examples of what ADUs look like. I think the upper right ones, they did detached ADUs, what we traditionally think of when it comes to ADUs, but they also can be attached, such as in the upper left-hand corner where someone example of where a new structure has been added to the existing single-family dwelling unit. Again, staff did some research when we brought to you and discussed to you what we found and also what our local communities have been doing. So with all that information, again, drafted an ordinance that the Planning Commission recommended approval. Some of the highlights of that ordinance are before you this evening. Again, it's considered accessory use, so it's recommended to be placed in Chapter 74, Article 8. That is the article on accessory structures. So this is the appropriate place for it. Allows for attached and detached ADUs. The ADU must be on the same lot or parcel as the principal single-family dwelling unit. Property owner must occupy the principal or accessory dwelling unit. Again, this is one of the comments that was made by the city council, some of the city council members that they wished the planning commission to consider. They did consider that item and determined that it was appropriate to include it in this ordinance. New detached ADUs must separate utility connections. Again, that comes from our utility providers as well as the building code. An ADU and the principal structure cannot cause a lot to have more than 75% impervious surface coverage. Again, trying to preserve single-family neighborhoods in regards to the feel of them. One of the green spaces, one of the main things that really we like about our single-family neighborhoods. So trying to put a cap on the amount of impervious surface to make sure that these lots have some level of green space. Also, it helps in regards to stormwater management. Obviously, we all know more rooftops, more pavement increases the amount of stormwater flow off of a lot, which goes into our municipal storm sewer system that we have to maintain. The next item, existing driveways can provide ADU a parking space. That kind of goes with the previous item, and again, trying to limit the amount of impervious surface out there. Also want to not require a ADU to have its own dedicated parking space or driveway. Again, ADU is kind of one of the ideas behind them is to give opportunities for affordable housing, and mandating or legislating requiring a new driveway and a new parking space be made just increases the cost of constructing an ADU. And then finally, there's no additional restrictions on short-term rentals. So an ADU can be a short-term rental provided it meets all our STR guidelines. So then that's with the ADUs, and then we thrown in what I like to call a bonus amendment. This is amendment to revising section 74424. It's the bulk regulations for accessory structures. If you read through the original, what it currently says, it's very difficult, convoluted to understand, so staff and the Planning Commission went through, made it easier to understand and more clear. We don't think it changed anything in regards to the intent or the standards of that section. So those are the two things that are in the ordinance before you this evening. With that, be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, just a clarification. I think I understood what you said in reference to if they want it to be an STR, they're going to have to make an application for that ADU unit to be a STR because it was within 1,000 feet, they couldn't do it.
Correct. So it would be, yeah, it's the exact same requirement. So for an STR, it would also have to go through our landlord licensing and inspection program, and then apply for an STR license. You have to have, for a short-term rental, you have to have both the landlord license and an STR license. So an ADU that wants to be an STR would be subject to the 1,000-foot buffer.
Thank you, sir. Go, Mr. Leahy.
I noticed there's provisions for 1 and 2 bedroom. Was there any consideration for studio units?
Yeah, that was one of the topics that definitely at the Planning Commission it had. That language comes from the International Property Maintenance Code. That language does not, it just requires those spaces be provided, not that they be as individual compartmentalized
Okay,
spaces.
so
So to directly answer your question, yes, as we've written it, staff certainly thinks studio apartments fit well within those, that requirement, yes.
Any other questions, Dr. Dyer? Yes, no other questions. Warren, I would entertain a motion then for this. Go ahead, Ms. Shonders.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City Council concur with the recommendation of the Planning Commission and approve an ordinance amending Merriam Code Section 74-422 to allow accessory dwelling units and bulk regulations for accessory structures.
Okay, we have a motion. I have a second. Mr. Caldwell.
I will second that.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder?
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers?
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich?
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta?
Aye.
Councilmember Hands?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. It looks like next, we have Ms. Gart coming forward. I'll let you tell us what you're going to talk to us about.
Good evening. Tonight, we're asking you to consider a resolution of intent to finance the acquisition of property with the issuance of debt. While I understand this is not something that we regularly do, we do want to reserve the right to issue debt for the purchase of property, particularly the property that you all approved for purchase back in December, the real estate contract for the former Antioch Library properties. The library board then subsequently approved that property purchase, and then as the mayor mentioned earlier, that's going to go to the Board of County Commissioners, I believe later this month, for their approval to be ratified. And while we did mention that we do plan to pay cash for the purchase of this property, our bond counsel and our financial advisor have advised us that we should at least give ourselves the option to bond the purchase of this property for a number of reasons that are included in your packet. It does not obligate, this resolution does not obligate you to bond the purchase, but it does allow if the numbers come out right once we get to that point. And then it just provides us an additional finance option to reimburse ourselves bonding once we cash purchase the property here in just a few weeks. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Ms. Gordon? Well, I see no, oh, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Silvers.
But it is the city's preference to pay cash.
At this point, yes, that's correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Gordon? Yeah, seeing no other questions, I would entertain a motion for that. Maybe Ms. Hands.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve a resolution of intent to reimburse the city for the purchase of certain property through the future issuance of debt.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Yodrich.
Mr. Mayor, second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Leahy?
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder?
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers?
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich?
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta?
Aye.
Councilmember Hands?
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Looks like the next item up is consider approval of an agreement with BHC. We have Dr. Kumke at the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Carter Avenue, 67th to Carter Avenue project is our 2026 CARS project. And what that means is Carter Avenue is a Johnson County CARS route, so it's eligible for up to 50% reimbursement of construction costs. The scope of work for this project includes a 2-inch mill and overlay, replacement of curb and gutter and ADA ramps as necessary, stormwater improvements and pavement markings. A 5-foot sidewalk will be installed on the east side of Carter Avenue up to 65th Street. Then it will cross over the railroad and be installed on the west side of Carter Avenue and tie into the trail for Chatelaine Park. We've been working with Aristocrat with their new building. We wanted to make sure the sidewalk would fit in, so we've been coordinating with them, trying to limit any kind of regrading. And we've also been working with BNSF as it takes a while to get permission to install the sidewalk across the tracks. BHC is our on-call engineering firm, and they've submitted a scope of work in the amount of $199,985. And design is anticipated to be completed by the end of this year with construction in 2026. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Director Kumke? My gosh, guess you're doing a fine job. I would entertain a motion. Go ahead, Ms. Shveta.
Mr. Mayor, move that the council approve an agreement with BHC for design services for the Carter Avenue, 67th Street to Carter Avenue Street Improvements Project in the amount of $199,985.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll
Go ahead,
second that.
Ms. Hands. Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Ryder? Aye. Councilmember Silvers?
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich?
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta?
Aye.
Councilmember Hands?
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell?
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Looks like the next item up would be the January CIP update, which we have Director Kumke already there.
Yes. The January CIP update is in your packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. One thing I did want to point out is the 75th Street Bridge Repair Project. The kickoff meeting was scheduled for January 6th, and it snowed a lot that day, and then it... Well, the project manager was plowing snow. So then it was rescheduled again, and he had to plow, so it's rescheduled for this Friday. So next month, I'll have much more of an update on the project.
Any other questions? Go. Did you have one more? Okay. Go ahead first.
And so I'm assuming that there's some issue around the gabion basket repair thing too, because there's also a reference to January 6th on there.
Well, yeah, they were getting ready to, so they poured the foundation for the retaining wall. They were getting ready to put in the blocks on the 6th. It snowed, and then they were going to come in this week, but they piled all the snow right in front of our area.
Goodness.
So I don't know what, the snow is
So we
like
don't have a new
really
date
tall.
yet.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what
Right.
we're going to do about that. I don't know how soon the snow is going to melt.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Silvers, do you have a question?
In one of our last updates on the undergrounding of the utilities on Cheyenne Mission Parkway under, I wanted to say IKEA Way, but I know it doesn't extend across.
EB Avenue?
EB, thank you.
Yes.
It was contingent on nice weather. Do you know how many days that has been delayed, if
The-
at all?
The road closed.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be open, they said 3 to 4 days, so I'm going to say the end of this week, but,
great.
You know.
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Leahy.
I had a question and then a comment. The first question was, I saw some crews out clearing off some additional snow on the shoulders today. Was that our crews or was that state or highway crew?
On Shawnee Mission Parkway?
No, on I-35.
No, it wouldn't have been us.
Well, I also wanted to thank Public Works for all the great work doing snow removal. I drive down Schweitzer regularly, and it's very clear which of our communities value snow removal and which teams put together a lot of hard work to do it.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I would add to that, I live on the Overland Park border, and so I can definitely tell. And thank you very much for all their work this last week.
Yeah, I'll pass it on to the crews.
I like to rub it into the other mayors when I see them, so.
I did love seeing the TikToks that came up on my FYP of all of the snow removal comparisons, and Merriam did make it on there. So I sent Kayla and Chris links, so.
Good.
And would you tell us the name of our new plow?
Oh, Cleopatra.
I thought that
Kind
was
of a
excellent.
mouthful.
Yeah, it was pretty cute. Very
Yeah.
well. It was great. So,
Yeah.
any other questions, Director Kumke? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Looks like we have the monthly finance report coming up.
All right, this is the last time that you're going to hear from me doing the finance report now that we have Megan on board.
I was wondering if we'd get her
Welcome,
tonight.
Megan.
Yeah.
She started on Wednesday. This is actually going to be your November finance report from last year since we didn't have a second meeting in December, but I did want to point out a few things. Our revenues, they continue to rocket per usual. Shout out to the MCC. They've done a great job. They did a great job in 2024, and I know they're going to continue to do a great job, but their revenues are coming in strong. Our transient guest tax seems to really have rebounded from COVID. I know we struggled there for a little bit, but it seems pretty consistently now that we're back to normal levels. And then just a reminder for everybody, now that it is 2025, so moving on from the report, now that it is 2025, our property taxes are going to reset essentially from our 2024 era, and we're back to the 2025 levels that we talked about within the last budget year. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Gordon? Yeah? No? All right. Thank you. Okay. Did a fine job on that.
Thank you.
And you're there, obviously, for the next one, which is going to be single hauler update.
Here I am.
Okay, you're back.
Hopefully we don't have too many more of these, but this is the same timeline that you've seen all along. The last update that I gave, we had not gone out to bid yet, but we officially have, as of January 6th, I believe, that RFP is out to bid. Our mandatory pre-bid meeting is scheduled for January 31st. We've gotten a number of questions from haulers already, so people are looking at it. That's great. but they'll be required to attend that pre-bid meeting on the 31st, and then bids are due back on February 14th, to then which we will review and consider those, and then bring back before you guys a consideration for a contract. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Is staff going to review the bids first, or is the working group?
It'll be a staff group first, and then just to make sure there's not any nuances or anything crazy like that. I can't imagine that there are, but then we'll take it to the work group for consideration. We haven't gotten that meeting scheduled yet, but we'll certainly do that before we bring that before you.
If it's not needed, I trust you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Gordon? Okay, guess not.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Single hauler update. Looks like we got the chief coming forward. Oh, no, excuse me.
I can give you an update on
No,
Single
see,
Hauler,
I
but
just.
I'll
I
just say
looked up, I
what
saw the
she
chief.
said, and we're
I
done.
looked this. Thank you, Chief.
Got any
You-
questions
never mind,
about
we did-
single
You did
hauler?
a fine job on that. You get to talk about VR training demonstrations.
Yeah, we're going to take the opportunity to demonstrate the VR training system. I know when I brought this to council last year for approval for purchase, I got a lot of queries about what it is and how we're going to use it. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity to bring it before council, kind of give you a little demonstration of what it is, what our officers are going to be looked at. We bought this system for two reasons. One, we wanted to give our officers more opportunity to have realistic training, as realistic as you can make training. We've used a system similar to this called a FAT system, but that's very cumbersome and it's you have to go to it. Whereas this allows us to bring the training to us and we can set it up anywhere. The other reason we got it is, and we actually used it for that purpose on our open house this weekend, it's actually something we can use to help teach the public about what we do and how we do it and give the public an excellent opportunity to kind of look at some of the situations that we have to train for. So it's got a twofold purpose in that. So we're going to give a quick demonstration about a scenario. Kind of briefly, it'll show up here on the screens what the officer sees. And we'll have the major kind of give a brief description of how we're going to do the training. Afterwards, after the meeting is over, if we're going to leave it hooked up, if anybody wants to come down and kind of take a look at it and maybe put the goggles on, we'll allow that. So, any questions? All right.
Any questions, Chief? No? Okay. We're excited. Let's see it.
So basically what you see up on the screen, that's what the instructor sees on their computer. So the scenario is run by an instructor from the computer. The instructor can actually talk to the officer that's going through the scenario. The officer could wear a headset. He's not going to have it on right now, but, right. So, and the comments that the instructor give the officer would be role-playing comments like would come from the bad guy or the person that they're contacting, so it makes it more realistic in that aspect.
When you got, what you guys are seeing up here when the scenario comes up is not, it's, when you get the VR on, it's a completely different world. Because you're immersed into it, so it's, I definitely encourage you to come and try it on after. It's kind of
Can't you put up on the screen what he sees though? Yes, sir. It's just two-dimensional as opposed to three. The other good thing about this program is, we brought the rifle over because it's usually easier for people to handle. But we have a handgun, we also have a taser and a flashlight that are synced with the system, so they can use any one of those tools depending on what the scenario is. So we're not just using one single tool, we're giving officers choices about stuff they have to engage with, just like in real life, to make the training more realistic.
hey, put the gun down, put the gun down, put the gun down. Put your hands up.
See, now she's directing what the bad guy's going to do. So it's like, she's gonna tell the bad guy to put hands in the air, the bad guy's gonna put the hands in the air so the officer can dress accordingly.
Go down to the ground, go down on your knees,
This is not what the officer's seeing, by the way.
go all the way down. Do not move, you understand? And like, we've got a perimeter set kind of short, so I can see the line on the ground right here, so I'm not gonna step any further. But in a bigger room, we could go around and do handcuffing and everything else.
You can also sync several of these, so if we had 2 or 3 officers and wanted to jump into a scenario, aka an active shooter, I can put 3, 4, 5, however many headsets we have, I can put that many officers here that can actually see.
Put what the officer sees on the screen if you can.
Make all these other people leave that are around me.
We're also getting used to the buttons, so it takes a little bit of time for me to do that. Hold on, Chris, let me see if I can find, I don't know why they need to be options to do that. If I put Chris, this is what Chris is seeing right now. You have to, it may be behind you, or about yet, or.
Yep, the range is right there.
So these mechanics work the exact same as our
Yeah.
So Chris, you want to the.
Now I'm gonna point up, but don't get scared, guys.
It actually has weight and recoil just like our regular weapons. It actually is just the same, so.
Oh, it's pretty good.
So, again, it's just being as real as you can be as real without actually having to do any of the real stuff. We think this is going to be great. Again, one of the other reasons why I was so intrigued by doing this, if you guys haven't realized in all the new officers that you saw, our department's young. We've hired a very young generation of officers. What did they grow up doing all their lives? Playing video games. Best way to train someone is to train them in how they understand the world. They understand the world through video games. So we think this is going to be a great investment. We've just started learning how to use it. We're going to start training with it this year. We hope we're going to be able to get it out in the public more. Obviously, we're going to incorporate this into our Citizens Academy, let our students go through that. So hopefully you guys are going to be able to see a lot more of this, and we're going to be able to get a lot of use for it. So any questions?
Shadrich has one.
Jacob's hand was up first.
Oh, was it? Go
I was just curious how many headsets we have.
Right now, we have one, but that doesn't mean as we get into this and we figure out exactly how well we're going to be able to use this, I won't be coming back to you and asking to buy some.
Go on eBay. So can you set up scenarios that play out in real time? Or are you manually selecting each action that goes through?
The short answer is yes. So there are prefabricated scenarios that are laid out in here.
Okay.
The benefit to this versus some of the other systems is they do have preset responses. This is completely unlimited. So I have some checkboxes, which you can see it's a little
Yeah.
hard for me to find right now until I get my hands on it.
Yeah.
I can also customize, if I were to put the complete set together, he can't hear anything, can't see anything except the scenario and what I'm saying to him, so we can get an actual response to what.
Right. That's what I was thinking, like real time
But the
Yeah.
scenario,
reactions.
If I have the time, I can go through and I can build whatever I want in here.
Okay.
Well, we'll build some scenarios.
Yeah.
I could hear what she was saying through that.
Because you don't have the headset on.
I can still hear her talking.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I think we have earmuffs to put on that block out the rest of the world too. So
And does the scenario adjust based on the actions of the police officer?
you can make it do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's why we have a instructor there, so that if the officer does everything right, then the guy, the bad guy or whatever in the scenario will do exactly what he's supposed to do. The goal is not to make every scenario a shoot scenario. We don't train our officers that every time they go into a scenario or a situation where there could be use of deadly force, that they're automatically trained to use deadly force. That would be stupid. And we don't train that way. So we make sure that when we do trainings where it's use of force trainings, we train deadly force situations, but we also train, the majority of them is de-escalation and how to get people to do what you want them to do and give them positive results for doing what you want them to do.
But the system seems to allow that more than the more rudimentary system.
Yeah, the old FAT system was, you couldn't modify it. It was pre-programmed and it ran its scenario and all the scenarios were the same. No matter if you went through it one time or 50 times, it was going to come out the same way, and if you did everything the right way. So this gives us flexibility. So Officer A could go through, we can set up A scenario, and their outcomes can be different than Officer B because of how the officer reacts to the situation.
One of the biggest training benefits that they're actually pre-recorded. So when we're done with the scenario, I can save it if I need to, if it's really good, if it's really bad. If it's one that we want to review later, I can also take, if Chief is doing the scenario, I can take Chief, leave him in the scenario, but make him third party to himself, and he can watch that unfold exactly how it did in real time. So that hindsight 2020 is immediate.
Go ahead, Mr. Silvers.
So I went to the open house on Saturday, and I told the chief how incredible this system was. It was the first time I was ever fully immersed in a virtual world, and it just blew my mind. But what was really apparent was how important of a training tool this is. So I look forward to when you bring forward to us the additional VR sets, because I think it'd be invaluable to our department to have more than just one.
Ms. Anderson, go ahead.
What's the time commitment like to set everything up and get people trained on how to like use the system and set up scenarios and all that kind of stuff? And do we have someone dedicated to that? Is there?
We have a group of officers, or training officers, they're the ones going to be running a system. So we ran how many officers, sergeants, and all?
We ran like 5 or so, went through the training on how to set it up and
So
everything.
they came in here today, set this up. It took them about an hour-ish because you got to set, it's not just you set it up the computer and you go. You've got to calibrate it, and it's got to figure out what the room is that it's in, and all that good stuff. So it takes about an hour to set that up. The good thing is we set it up over at the station. It remembers it, so it stays there. You know, for the officers to use it, it ain't gonna take anything to train them because they're doing it at home already with their own VR system. So our turnaround time on most of that's gonna be pretty good. Me, on the other hand, I'm old.
You'll still learn. I have faith in you.
So is there an intent to have like quarterly training for the officers to run through this, or how often would that happen?
The great thing about the way we do things in our department is our 10-hour shifts. Our officers train every Wednesday, 10 hours a day, roughly. So everybody works on the police department works on Wednesday. Half the team works Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The other half works Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So every other Wednesday is your training day. So 2 Wednesdays a month, the entire department's training. It gives us so much flexibility about when to schedule trainings. And again, every time you've heard me talk about training, I tell you how important I think training is to build confident, effective officers. If you're not worried about what to do because you have training, you don't tend to make a lot of mistakes. We're human, we're gonna make mistakes, but we don't make a lot of mistakes because of that. That's why training for me is very important. So we will schedule this into the training program. Our training's already pre-built out. We built training out for 4 or 5 months in advance. You'll see us start really heavily probably getting into this the last half of this year. We'll still do some training with it, but the last half of the year is when we really start. We'll schedule it. And how many times it get used, it all depends on what's on the calendar, but we are going to use it. We do a lot of training.
February 12th is our first scheduled session into the so half the department will use this for the first time on the 12th for the first day of training.
Any other questions for Chief?
I just have a
Officers, go ahead, Mr.
comment.
Paul.
I totally support what we're doing. It is the right thing for now. I'm just concerned with all of this very realistic training of the mental health of our officers. We need to be very aware of that because,
We get training on that too.
yeah, thank you.
We actually do. We just had a
Because-
wellness training last Wednesday.
You know, I did that Citizens Academy thing and we did the simulator,
Yep.
whatever, and I learned that I don't have what it takes to be a police officer.
You're right. And
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
we addressed it. That's why we do wellness training and all kinds of other things. So yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
I play a game where I just like get zombies at home and I need to decompress after I play it for like 20 minutes. Yeah, so it is very immersive. It's very overwhelming for your senses. So that is a great question, I think.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for bringing this in this evening, and
Problem, like I
we
said, after
appreciate
the meeting.
you guys doing this.
You guys want to play with it?
Sure, I'm sure some of us will take advantage of that. Okay. All right, so next item up is informational items, and we have a PC minutes for the December was there. Does somebody have any questions concerning any of that for the Plan Commission? Okay, nothing. I assume we have no executive session this evening?
No executive session.
Gosh, my last item is adjournment.
I just have a couple things before you
Oh,
adjourn, if
excuse
that's
me.
okay.
Yes, please. Somehow I missed that. Go ahead.
I know we've said it a number of times tonight, but I just want to formally thank the Public Works crews for all their work that they've done over the past few, really week or so. I know the number of hours and just the amount of work they've done over the past week was in your admin report last week, but please give the crews a major shout out. That was a lot of work and a lot of overtime for them. And then just a reminder that administrative offices will be closed on January 20th for MLK Day. That's all I've got. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Gard? Okay, no questions? Are we ready? Now we'll call for adjournment.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hands, go ahead.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, a motion from adjournment. Go ahead, Ms. Shadridge.
Mr. Mayor, second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.